Throughout the course of life, it is easy to think that there's a mind-body disconnect, that one part of who we are is who we really are, and that life doesn't make it easy to figure out who are we, what are we, where do we come from, who are my people, how did this happen, why am I a problem? Now, I'm Latia, and I'm many things. I am the child of my parents, I am the sister of my siblings, and potential mother of who knows what or who. And I am also a child who was curious and a bookworm. I grew up reading a lot of books. And from what I learned, reading and being educated were white people things. I also wrote a lot and took notes and would journal. And that seemed to mark me as an educated person, which was like a knock against my blackness. And I was the type of kid who was like perfectionist and really wanted to write things well and do my homework well and have a standard of excellence. So I've always been on a pursuit of excellence, and I knew that about myself, that I was willing to work hard. I didn't just do my homework. I would rewrite and edit and make sure things looked good, and I would write it, and if I had one mistake, sometimes I would write it again. And it wasn't because my mom made me. My mom didn't care about school. Like, she got C's and was like, oh my gosh, like, you're an A student, what? And I'm like, when I was in 3rd grade, I saw my report card. I had like B's and C's. And I was just like, what is this? B's and I didn't know I was getting letter grades. If I knew that, I would have gotten better than this. And so I chose, like, I said, I'm an A student. So I started getting A's. And I feel like I loved school because it was the only place where I was allowed to call my shots and say who I was, and it would happen. At home, I couldn't just be myself. I couldn't be inquisitive because asking questions is wrong. I couldn't speak my mind because what I had to say wasn't welcome. I couldn't just be my whole self. And it was frustrating because on the one hand, I was told I am descended from kings and queens. I am the progeny of gods. Like, I come from amazing life-creating sources. And so as a kid, I was like, heck yeah, I do. That's facts. Like, I read the Bible and I was told it was a love story. And I read it and I was like, that is so much love in this. Like, this is an amazing story of birth and rebirth and creation and calling shots and making choices and the freedom that we have to live our lives as we see fit. This is awesome. And I remember being in elementary school and reading Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. And it told me that God was angry and was dangling us over the fires of hell, like, mad. And I was just like, why would God do that? How dare God? Like, why do you see God in this way? Like, what do you see in God that I don't see? That when I see God, I'm like, yes, that's my mom, that's my dad, that's the source that I come from. That is like the earth that has nourished me as I grow into the woman I'm becoming. How do you see this anger and this frustration? And that was the question and the thing I was trying to figure out. Like, why, on the one hand, is God so loving and gives me freedom and blessings and the treasures that I desire? And then on the other hand, God is a mean God who's not giving me what I would like and is holding me back. Where's the disconnect? And I've been searching my whole life to figure that out. Like, how does this make sense? Like, make it make sense. Like, how am I a black person and evil, yet I'm not black enough for black people? I'm not light enough for mixed people. I'm not smart enough for the white people who like to fight me and tell me I'm wrong. I'm not obedient enough for my parents because, like, I've never been a very disciplined person. But what purpose? Like, discipline to what end? Discipline to feeding your ego and keeping you happy? Discipline so that I'm going to keep my check and be in the employ of someone who doesn't respect all of me? Sometimes I'm angry. Sometimes I'm happy. Majority of the times I can be angry and joyful simultaneously. Just because I get upset doesn't make my message any less true. I've studied logic, philosophy, I've studied art and science. I've studied everything that every American has been given the gift of studying. The only difference is that my black perspective looked at the white perspective of what I went through, and it never made sense. I saw slavery as a time where, one, slavery is not a thing because you can't own people. Captivity makes sense to me. We were held in captivity by overlords who decided to, like, force themselves upon us. Now, I feel like as I read the Bible when I was a kid, especially after having started school, it was a perverted book. I'm like, this is like sex. Like, why are men trying so hard to be part of the birthing story? Man and woman are like, if it's two bodies, if it's two energies, whatever it is, it's not a fight between man and woman. It never was. But we act like what men do impacts my womanhood and what I do as a woman impacts manhood. And we're fighting over like who gets the rights and equal pay. And the real answer is everyone. Like, when we stop putting these stupid labels on everything and we allow people to be judged by their work experience, not by their name, by what they have accomplished, not by what benefit they could give us. Like, maybe we need a new system of HR where we stop labeling people by names as they come into the company so that we can do a blind check. We need to actually take your eyes out of the thing, because it's the eyes that are getting people caught up. We're caught up in brown skin versus white skin, but we call it black and white, so that becomes light and shadow. And in color composition, technically the white person is the all person, but in practice, that's not how it goes down. Processes and functions are not usually representative of the reality. And I've been in a variety of situations where people will say one thing, do another, and I'm like trying to put the pieces together and they come at me like I'm crazy. And I'm just like, but you're doing this thing and this is what that translates to. Your actions are the things that are being tracked and measured to create a whole picture so we can understand what's happening. And most people act like there's not cause and effect. There isn't thoughts in your head versus what you do out here. Like, you think black people were happy to listen to white people? No, we were treated as though we were workhorses and laborers. We, like, even labor has been perverted into a bad thing. Labor is love. You hold that child in your body for 9 months out of love. That is gestation. That is something that can't be forced. That is something that just happens naturally, as though a seed falling from a tree or flowering plants. It's natural. And I've been so afraid of birth and who I am and what my body means and showing my nipples, because people might know if I'm turned on or I'm cold or whatever it is. It's like my nipples are kind of the only sign of like my emotion. And I've been afraid to let people know, because like we treat feelings like they are like, we hoard our feelings and hide our heart. Like, oh, you can't know I love you and like you. I really want a relationship with you, but I'm not going to tell you because you might not give it to me, and I'm not giving myself the love I need. So like, I need you to give me love. Like, I need you to love me and give me attention. And it's like, what's more perverted than that? Like, love is free. Love is pure love casteth out fear. And the yin and the yang is the balance of natural energy. It is the cycle of fear and faith. It is the cycle of the ebb and the flow. It is representative of the circle that is life. Because as you become one and it's outshadowed, you go to the other. It's like if we were people, it'd be like there's a spotlight and you keep running into the spotlight because you're afraid of the shadow. And it could be that you're following the spotlight and the light of God, or it could also be that you're dancing. You were being watched the whole time and you thought that God went away, but God never went away. We just created a narrative where God is distant and far away and doesn't love us and doesn't care, and we've never seen God, so how can I know who God is? But if you've read enough books and done literary analysis, and if you like really applied what you learned in school, not because it's going to be practical, but because school is for expanding your mind. It gives you power. The knowledge that is power that they've been speaking of is literally taught in public schools. But we devalue that which is free and we overly value that which we must pay for. So our minds just can't even comprehend. They've been teaching us our lineage. I found out when my sister did a search on our history on Ancestry, I legitimately sourced from kings and queens. As in, I come from a lineage that has the title king, but the French version, le roi. Roi was part of my history. Like, different things. Like, even the city that I grew up in, Shiloh, was part of my history. There were different names that just kept coming up and were familiar. And I thought it was like, I didn't think anything of it, but it was just like, oh, I remember hearing about black and white and hoping that there was a day where we would all be so mixed and like the same color. It wouldn't even matter if you were whatever you were or wherever you came from. But the thing about it is, where we come from is important to us because that's our history. That's how you touch base with yourself and know who you are. I know who I am when I go to a black church and I listen to the music. I know who I am when I see the color purple and I hear God is trying to tell you something. I see myself in my journey in social media of people who look like me, who talk like me, who let me be me without judging me for the fact that I'm not what they expected me to be. That is like the biggest refrain I get from people. And I'm just like, what the did you expect me to be? Like, how did I miss your expectations? Like, what could I do to appease your expectations so you could just let me be me and stop expecting things of me? Like, that's the opportunity of privilege when you are someone that people let you tell them who they are and they don't come in with preconceived notions and expectations. Or if they do, they are willing and able to put that aside because they're not coming from a place of fear, but a place of faith that you're my people and I have nothing to fear. But as an entitled Black queen, I walk around and my pride in myself for no reason other than that I heard the stories in the Bible were about my lineage, that I sourced from kings and queens in Africa, that Africa is a noble nation of powerful people, that they are in tune with nature and they know what rhythm is, they know all the things. How could I hold my head down? What do I have to be ashamed of? My body? I was told my dad had me intentionally. My mom always wanted girls like her mom. My dad always wanted boys. My mom's desires were stronger. And the day that they conceived, they said, my dad said that he said, if you're not pregnant now, you'll never be pregnant. And I was just like, that sounds hateful, but cool. I mean, we have fear and faith and it's a cycle and back and forth. And it's what we say with emotion and truth that lights our way. And I am sourced from a man who hated and loved his wife and a woman who hated and loved her husband. They were both Black. They were married. I am not a bastard child. I was made out of like sex. They had sex. I knew it. And here I am, confused because people are trying to make me choose between my Blackness and my Africanness and my Americanness as though there needs to be a choice. I'm all of them. I am all the things. And based on my lineage, I'm also European. So now I am legitimately the history of America made manifest in physical form. Proof that the white man's burden, like, that name is silly. It is love that happens. Like, if you think you're a burden, then you don't know love. And I thought I didn't know love because I would read about what people said love was and, all these things. But it's like everyone, like, love just is. And it's fear that prevents us from feeling it, giving it to ourselves and nourishing ourselves. It's the fear that we're not doing it right, but we can never get it wrong. So no matter what choices you make to honor, love, respect yourself or others, nobody cares. It's your life. Literally, nobody cares but you. And the problem is we think other people care, but I learned as a kid, nobody cares. Self-consciousness is other people consciousness if you direct your information outward and externally and you're worried about others. The thing that people thought about me was that I was externally oriented. Nah, I never was. I was always focused on myself and my survival because I got in trouble and I would get hit as a kid for no reason. You looked at me funny. So I look at you funny and you can hit me in the face? That's stupid. Oh, you said something I don't like. So I'm going to get punished. Oh, you don't clean up your room. So you're not going to teach me how to clean my room and help me get into the practice of doing it. We're just going to be mad that I don't have the habits that you wish I had. Like, how is that fair? And like, how am I supposed to learn how to do better when I don't understand? Oh, it's just my habits and practices. It's not who I am. But I got lucky, and I also knew that being messy or like all those things are not who I am on the core. I am a child of the Most High God, and I don't honor Christ as my God. Christ is an intermediary so that I may be with God, because sometimes we think that if we have a relationship between one and another, there must be a third, and that's a lie. I can have a one-to-one relationship with God because that's how God wanted it to be always, because people were always calling on God and always receiving answers. Just those who understand and recognize that God is the love that guides them versus those people who think that God is like in the stars, in the ether, in the words itself. It's in the words plus the feeling plus the action. So in Black church, I learned when you stomp and shout and you dance, you shame the devil. And it's the Bible was meant to be spoken. It is a story. It wasn't meant to be necessarily interpreted for, beauty for ashes, this for that. That's the cycle of life. It cycles through. Parts are going to be hard. God never said it was going to be easy. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. That's how birth is. That's what any wonderful, lovely endeavor is. But what happened was, it was a reaction to the monarchy that created America. It wasn't free, pure creation. It wasn't pure love. It was fear and anger. And that is what our country is truly founded on. It is founded on misplaced anger and the desire to control and receive without work and effort. We are a country of laziness, and we try to act like we're not. But what do I know? I've just been learning from both sides of the table since I was a kid, feeling like an outsider on the inside, and then realizing, what? I am actually a mix. I am a mutt, and people don't let me honor all of who I am, but I know who I am. So I am not in the employ of a company at the moment. I am a data engineer. I'm a data analyst. I know how to create processes and systems, and I'm living a pretty dope life. And I do not want to work in the employ of people whose privilege is more important than my entitlement to a secure life. That if I feel uncomfortable, let's honor that I feel uncomfortable and not make me have to shut myself down for other people's comforts. I'm tired of trying to play nice, and that doesn't mean that I'm going to be just legitimately bitchy all the time. It just means that I don't want to have to hold my tongue because the truth that I have might be too much for your fragile ears. Because that's what I learned about America. We are weak. We are a weak nation. We fight people when we're mad. We hit them and hurt them for the words that they say. We act like we care about others, but we don't. We just want to insert ourselves into every conversation. That's why we try to take over these nations. We're never in service to humanity and divine uplift. We are reacting to our fear of being attacked, I guess. And that is why we keep being in this vicious cycle of it's a time of peace and prosperity, but it's too peaceful. Something needs to go wrong. I don't get this. When is the other shoe gonna drop? And then the other shoe drops and it's oh my gosh, it's horrible. What happened? I don't get this. Where did this come from? How did this happen? And then once it's calm again, it's we're in peace again. But it's we were never meant to be on the pursuit of a happiness that is our God-given right. Joy is divine. And if you are capable of using your imagination, you can feel anything like that. Maybe with practice. I know that I've generated energy before. I've disappeared headaches, and I've been able to learn how to control myself from the head down and from the body up. So I'm a whole and complete human being, and I'm working on my soul. I am working on being someone who is truly race blind, not because I don't see the color of your skin, but because this color of your skin does not matter to me. I know that you source from the divine, so it's I see you're behaving as though you're smaller than what you are. You want to step up or nah? Okay, you can have your upset. That's cool. I don't care. All right, so let's do business. Instead of me having to be I'm uncomfortable and I feel you trying to control me and I'm going to pretend like you're not so that we can just ignore this. But I am not about to pretend I'm your slave. I never was. I never will be. I am a free Black woman who was born in America and sources from all sorts of things. So thanks for watching. Deuces.